What's up, Internet? This is the 84th Wolf, and welcome back to another episode of Wolf Watches. So, a minor disclaimer for this video. It turns out that there are only 13 episodes of Volume 6 that are coming out. I don't remember why I thought there were 14. I thought there was a tweet like a while ago about that, but apparently I was wrong. So, this is the episode before the finale, and there's a lot of stuff that happens in it. Why, Rooster Teeth? Why must there be only 13 episodes? This needs to be a 20 episode thing and longer, and stuff that I know I've said before. But in any case, we're only 2 episodes away from the end, and this one is episode 12, Seeing Red. What am I gonna do after this? I guess I'll start on Genlock maybe, or just some analysis videos. But anyway, I'm both hyped and bummed that we are so close to the end, but let's not get into that. Instead, let's get right into the episode. So it starts off at the Atlas HQ, and everyone's watching the fight between Caroline and Team Ruby, Juniper, all of them. And they're cheering and laughing and everything. But the problem is they're all watching the fight and nobody's watching the monitors. And you can actually see a little red dot appear on there. Now, I don't know what this dot represents. My first thought was maybe, well, obviously it's some kind of contact, but I don't know if it's friend or foe, whether it's color-coded for that convenience. But my very first thought was, ooh, I wonder if Winter is like making an inspection or heard through somebody at the command that Weiss was there, or she's just going there for some other reason. But in any case, something is coming towards them. Didn't know what it was at first. So we cut back to Team Ruby, and everyone's kind of regrouped and talking to each other, and Oscar realizes that he spotted what could be a possible weakness. Whenever Caroline does her missile attack, there's a missile bay pops out of her arm, and a well-placed shot could destroy the missiles in the tubes, causing a chain reaction and disabling the weapon. So Ruby jumps on board the ship with Oscar and Maria, and they go to try to bait Caroline into opening that hatch. At this point, Caroline actually receives an incoming transmission from the HQ, but Maria distracts her by pretty much insulting her, and she ignores it and focuses on the task at hand, and sure enough, opens her missile hatch to fire more missiles at them. However, as she's lining up the shot, she focuses on the ship, and she can actually see Ruby attempting to aim with her sniper rifle. So she immediately closes the hatch, causing Ruby's shot to miss. So instead, she fires her main weapon, and it's another electric round, and the glancing blow sort of shortens out the ship, and by extending Maria's eyes, so she can't see, so Oscar is forced to land the ship. He crash lands the ship into the forest, and everyone rushes forward to make sure that everyone's alright, and Crow turns into a crow and darts ahead to see what he can do. So everyone on the ship is fine. Maria is still kind of partially blind, but everyone is pretty good for the most part. But unfortunately, Carolina is now approaching them. I mean, it is a giant mech, and they can't go anywhere. But while Carolina is coming towards them, Ruby finally just stands up straight and starts walking towards Mech, just very calmly, like it's a confrontation, it's not going to be a fight. Crow tries to hold her back, and Ruby just says, "You need to trust me on this." And Crow does. He's very reluctant because it is his favorite young niece that's a kid, but he trusts her and lets her walk forward. So Caroline and Ruby meet face to Mech, and Carolina orders Ruby to finally surrender for the last time. Ruby refuses and goes on to say that we didn't want to do this, we didn't want this fight, but we're supposed to be working together, and you kind of forced our hand on this. Which, yes, she did, but it doesn't necessarily make the actions right, and it's just kind of funny to me. I mean, of course, I wouldn't blame Ruby at all. I just think it's kind of funny, that kind of like, you forced us to steal a ship from the military. Just a little, it's like, Ruby, I think that's kind of your bad too. But in any case, Ruby gives Caroline one last chance to just listen to them and listen to their side. She makes a point of saying that Caroline, she's so focused on herself and Atlas that she abuses her power, and it's completely true. And I think even Caroline kind of, there's a few expressions that she gives that makes it seem like, yeah, maybe, but her ego is still too much to be lectured by a kid. And then she finally says, I've had enough, and just levels the cannon directly at Ruby's face, which is a little excessive, don't you think, Caroline? So the weapon begins to charge, but then Ruby does something kind of crazy. She jumps into the gun barrel. Now, in hindsight, this is a brilliant idea, but at the beginning, that's just nuts. Even Nora's like, is she nuts? But Jean realizes that when Caroline readies the dust round, all the raw dust is centered and compressed in an area and then fires out of the gun, and that is what Ruby's aiming for. She hopes to spark the explosion before it leaves the barrel. So Ruby fires and just darts out pretty much as quickly as possible. And she still takes some hits, but at the same time the cannon just explodes, and there's a chain reaction of all the dust that's still in the chamber and a mixture of electricity, earth, and ice just explode out of the cannon, and it's way too heavy for Caroline's mech to handle, so it just plops into the sea, and she just can't move. Chrome and Weiss work together to catch Ruby, and Ruby is perfectly fine. Ruby just says, told you. So it's such a cool scene. The music is great. Just the determination on Ruby's face when she's just in the gun barrel. I mean, she knows what she's doing is crazy, but she is trusting herself to get out of it. Again, it's just such a cool scene to watch. I think it was very well animated, and just it made me cheer. I'll tell you that right now. And then we get a little bit of comedy with the ship rising off the ground just a little bit so they can still take it to use it to go to Atlas. And Maria is still knocking at her eyes, and she's like, damn it, did I miss it? Yes, you did, Maria, and you are gonna hate yourself for it. So now we cut back to Blake, Yang, and Adam. And oh my god, this is the fight that we've been waiting for pretty much this whole time. And I was super nervous going into it. I didn't know what they were gonna do, how they were gonna do it. And I mean, obviously I thought that Blake and Yang were gonna win, but I just didn't know how they would go about it. But anyway, we go back to that group, and Adam is basically saying, you know, the two of you couldn't take me on at Beacon. You know, what's changed? You guys aren't really any stronger since then. But Blake says that she promised she would not run away from her team again, and so she has to face him right then and there and end this. So Adam actually turns to Yang and says, you know, she promised me that she would stay with me forever, and now, you know, look at the situation that we're in. Basically just trying to sow more doubt into Yang. But Yang just goes ahead and asks right out, you know, did she promise you, or did she promise the person that you were pretending? You can't see Adam's expression too well, but I think he knows that he was putting on a facade for Blake. It's just a couple of things that you can see him. He is angry at this remark, and I think he knows that Yang is telling the truth. He puts on this facade to get people to stay with him, but at the same time he belittles them and just, you know, everything is somebody else's fault. And he continues with this whole thing, basically saying, you know, oh, I guess I wasn't good enough for you and that's why you left. And Blake is just, you know, that's not the reason. It's way more complicated than that. And it's just, Adam is just continually in denial about how he acts and who he really is. Adam doesn't blame himself for anything. He always blames his problems or the reason why he fails on other people. So finally, we get the 3-on-1 fight. Man, it is fast, it is quick, it is fun to watch, and just seeing the teamwork of Blake and Yang together again is really, really cool, and just so much goes on, and they're hitting them pretty well. They are totally in sync. There's that one point where Blake uses the broken gamble shroud to throw at Adam. Adam deflects it back, but Yang catches it, and then we see a return of the Bumblebee maneuver from Volume 2, only it's in reverse, and Yang launches Blake forward instead. But unfortunately, Adam uses this attack to basically knock Blake off the ledge that they're at. So she lands on a lower ledge and has to climb her way back up, and Yang is facing Adam alone. Adam asks Yang if she thinks she's faster than the time that she was at Beacon, and this really hits home for Yang because she knows she isn't faster, and the last time that this happened she lost an arm, which is something that she's still struggling with. So Adam takes advantage of this, basically knocking her off her rhythm, and he's getting some good hits in. He's not, you know, he's holding his own against Yang again. So Blake continues to jump up, climb up, and Yang is trying to hold her own, and she actually, you know, looks past Adam to Blake to make sure she's all right, and Adam just gets angrier and angrier, and then finally just explodes with, "What does she even see in you?" At the risk of angering some Black Sun fans, I think even he notices that the relationship between Blake and Yang is romantic, or at least he sees it that way. But anyway, he continues to shout insults, basically calling her a coward, and then finally does another moon slice, which causes this big dust cloud and strikes before it has a chance to dissipate. But then the dust clears, and Yang caught the blade with her prosthetic arm, and she has activated her semblance and just looks at him right in the face and says, "Gotcha." And this was, oh man, I love that scene. And it just goes back to what Yang was taught back in, I think it was, Volume 4 with Tai, because she stopped relying on her semblance and waited for the perfect opportunity. And this couldn't have been more perfect. She has Adam immobilized, has his weapon, and she just freaking nails him right in the chest for pretty much all the strength she could, and he just flies back, rocks are flying and everything like that. It is a heavy blow. There's one piece of art that was circling around back when Yang first got her arm with her punch just shatters Adam's sword, but this was just as good. This was so satisfying to see. And the new engine with Yang's hair and stuff like that, this is the first time we've seen it in the new animation. It looks really awesome. I really like the old version where it wasn't as noticeable, but seeing it in the new engine with the slight tweaks to it, it looks freaking cool. I want to see more of it. So Adam goes flying, and Yang still has his sword, so he's disarmed. And she just says, "I may not be faster, but I am smarter." And then just throws Adam's sword off the edge. Adam runs forward to try and catch it before it falls off. He misses, looks over the edge, and freaking Blake does an uppercut right in his face. So he stumbles back and accidentally kicks a couple of the pieces of Gamble's shroud that were on the ground, and everyone sees it and everyone darts for it. Adam and Blake reach for the handle portion, but Adam is too slow and Blake grabs it and starts to stab forward. Yang grabs the blade part of Gamble's shroud and just dives forward, and Adam is just shish kebabbed. Just nailed him, both sides at nearly the exact same time by Blake and Yang. And I was just like, yes! Oh man, they freaking won, and Adam just got destroyed. Adam staggers over to the edge, lands on his knees, topples over the edge, hits a lower ledge, and falls into the water, gone. Now, I want to talk about this scene for a minute. Based on the fact that he hit the lower ledge with no reaction at all, and then falling into the water, I'm 99% sure he's dead. When Cinder was defeated back in Volume 5, I didn't think she was dead. There was just there was too many variables, and to be perfectly honest, I just didn't think that they would kill off a character like that the way that they did so early, because I mean, Cinder is a very, very important character to everyone in Team RWBY and Juniper. So killing her off like this just didn't really make sense from a narrative point, in my opinion, and it turns out I was right. But this one, hitting that ledge was kind of like a period, in my opinion. You know, it's like a finality. It was just boom, boom, gone. Not to mention that he was disarmed, so there was very little chance of him recovering his sword. So in my opinion, he is dead. He is gone, he is not coming back. And two things I want to say about that. One, I am very happy he's dead. He was a great villain. Did feel a little bit of sympathy for him with the revelation of the Shiny Dust Company stuff, but he was beyond redemption. I did not want him to see some kind of redemption arc or anything like that. Two, I'm upset that he's dead. And let me clarify that with a huge pulsating asterisk. He is not one of my favorite characters. He is not a person that I want to see more because I don't like him. But from a character standpoint, I enjoyed the scenes that we saw with him, and I thought we could see more of him. More importantly, I wanted to see more of the radical side of the White Fang. With the end of Volume 5, most of the White Fang members have been rounded up, most of them. But, you know, obviously, there's still more out there. They weren't all captured at Haven or in Menagerie, especially like the like spider chick or whatever. I don't think she was captured. I think maybe she was knocked out, but you know, she could have gotten away. And just arresting one faction of this radical group won't bring them all down. What I was hoping was that because of the communication loss and Atlas, the radical White Fang there didn't know what happened, and Adam would chase Blake to Atlas and then round up those supporters. And one of the reasons why I wanted that to happen was because the discrimination hasn't ended. We already saw that with with Caroline's reaction to Blake just this volume. Nothing has changed yet, and so there are bound to be some people that still think that Adam was right and are willing to follow him. If this group could overthrow the current White Fang member, Sienna Khan, like, it's not a small group. It's got to be a bigger group to either spread misinformation or to be able to convince people that this is the right decision. So I wanted to see more of the radical stuff. Like, you know, it's just one of those things like, yes, there's a new group now, whatever that group is called, that Gira forms, you know, at the beginning of this volume. But again, the discrimination hasn't gone away. So there's going to be some people who are, you know, who are frustrated with that. It's like, well, we just swapped out a bunch of leaders. We're back to the peaceful side of the solution, but no one cares, or none of the humans care. So what does this mean? I personally was writing it. I would like to have some kind of disciple of Adam. You know, someone it's sort of like Ilya in the beginning, who admired Adam, but slightly naive. Like this person looked up to Adam as a hero, not knowing who he was, maybe without even Adam knowing who this person was. And this person wants to follow in Adam's footsteps and go back to the more violent side of it. I think this could be a really cool idea. I just don't think that the radical side of the White Fang should just go away now, because that's not how problems are solved. You don't eliminate one side and everything is fine. There's always going to be some followers or some faction. You know, it just doesn't go away so easily. I mean, hell, look at something like Star Wars. Like, if you just watch the movies, you assume that, you know, Darth Vader and the Emperor are dead in Return of the Jedi, and everything's happy and free, everyone's partying and stuff like that, evil is destroyed. But, you know, if you look at any of the lore, even before Disney acquired it, it's like, no, that is not what happened at all. If anything, killing the Emperor made things worse for the rebels because everyone else tried to seize power. That's the kind of thing I kind of want to see in the next few volumes, maybe. But that's just my idea, so, I don't know what the writers have decided to go in that direction. Maybe it's something like that, maybe it's not, maybe they're just writing the radical side of the White Fang out, but there's definitely going to be more, you know, fondness discrimination stuff once we get to Atlas, if Adam's scar is anything to go by. So anyway, with the death of Adam, Blake finally breaks down. I think it's just a combination of relief and just this weight off her chest. She hugs Yang and just says to her, I will keep this promise. I'm not going to abandon you again. And Yang just says, I know you won't. And they just take a moment together and just cry. Oh my God. I am a Bumblebee shipper, but again, it's going to be one of those things that I can see it and I can see the other argument, but to me, this is definitely going to be the solid pairing. Before anyone else jumps down my throat, if it goes one way or the other, Rooster Teeth has already said, this is how Monty wrote it originally, this is how it's going to be. They are not changing it to fit the fan base. However you may think. Write your own damn fantasy. You can make his characters as gay or straight as you want. So now we jump back to Caroline and RWBY. Caroline is just trying to get her arm up, but she can't. And she is just screaming, she is furious, and she calls on her intercom, all troops, get here right now and eliminate these people. However, people at the HQ are a little busy. They have been trying to contact her for the past entire episode, and she hasn't responded, so she doesn't know what's going on in Argus. Turns out, there is an army of Grimm coming their way, and not only that, but there is a deep sea Grimm heading its way called a Leviathan. And this Leviathan is huge. It is definitely a kaiju, and all I could think of when I first saw it was,
Run! It's Godzilla! It looks like Godzilla, but due to international copyright laws, it's not. Still, we should run like it is Godzilla! Though it isn't.
So with this revelation, everyone kind of just looks at each other, and it looks at Caroline with the disabled Mech, and they are just looking at each other like, oh my God, this is the absolute worst timing. And then the episode ends. Oh man. So what's gonna happen in the season finale? Well, one thing's absolutely certain. Team RWBY and Juniper are not going to abandon Argus. It would be hard enough if their plan had worked and they had gotten away scot-free. There is no way, after disabling Atlas's strongest defense for Argus, that they're just gonna fucking book it. Not only that, even if they were even considering it, Jean's sister is there, so there is absolutely no way he's going to say, yeah, let's get out of here. So how can they fight off the Grimm? Well, we don't know how strong Atlas's military force is, so it is possible that they could fight off the smaller flying Grimm that are coming in. As for the bigger Grimm, obviously they were going to need something a little bit bigger, hence the Mech, and now I don't know what they could do, what Atlas themselves could do to defeat it on their own. A couple of predictions I think would be they cut off the arm that's holding Caroline in place. Yes, they lose control of the main cannon, but at least she's got one good arm. Another idea is that maybe the people of Mistral, maybe somehow they and Argus just like fight together. I don't know how if the Mistral side could contribute to the fight, but maybe that would be something that, you know, they work together and Caroline's like, oh, you know, we wouldn't be able to fight them off if it wasn't for the Mistral forces and ours. So that would kind of like, you know, have her learn that kind of lesson. But most definitely, we're gonna get some Silver Eye action. Whether or not she used it to just like freeze everything, which I think would be a little too impressive, or just freeze the Leviathan. It's gonna be hard for her to do because she's never done this on purpose. Doing stuff on purpose that you were able to do by accident is a little hard. It's sort of like if you made like a 3-point shot from half court by accident because you just wanted to see if you could, and then after that you try to keep doing it, but it's like one of those things, like it's one of those luck of the draw things. Like you did it on accident because you were really lucky, but now that you're focused on it, you're not quite as proficient as you hoped you were. So that wraps up episode 12, Seeing Red. So what do you guys think about maybe what's going to happen in the next episode, and what do you think of my idea about Adam and the more radical side of the White Fang? Are they going to continue with that? Are they going to discontinue with it? Do you guys want to see more? Leave a like, share the video, leave a comment. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is the A4th Wolf, and I'll see you guys next time.